Welcome to my channel. Join me as we look back at the greatest films ever made in Disney's 100th anniversary celebration. In the post-Civil War American South, young Johnny is sent to live on his grandmother's plantation while his father starts a new life in the city. Lonely and struggling with his parents' separation, Johnny feels out of place until he meets his grandmother's friend, Uncle Remus, who becomes his guardian. Warm, wise, and full of energy, Uncle Remus runs a small story inn where weary travelers can rest their heads while passing through. And though business is slow, Uncle Remus takes young Johnny under his wing, teaching him valuable lessons about courage, kindness, and compassion through magical tales of the tricksy animal Br'er Rabbit, who uses quick thinking and laughter to escape every trap laid by the mean old man and his dim-witted but strong son, Br'er Fox. As Johnny listens to these fantastical stories, he begins to find comfort in them and realizes that they also hold the key to solving his own problems. With the help of Uncle Remus and the spirit of Br'er Rabbit, Johnny finds the strength he needs to face his troubles and ultimately discovers the true meaning of family and home. Song of the South tells the story of Johnny, a young boy living with his father on a farm in the American South after the Civil War. Though Johnny loves his father and his new baby brother, he misses his mother dearly. When his dad gets sick, Johnny's mother comes to visit from Louisiana. Seeing how unhappy Johnny is, she asks her father to take him off his hands so he can be closer to her. So Johnny is packed off to his grandmother's sprawling plantation, but is immediately disheartened when he sees it looks abandoned. Meanwhile, his mother arrives at her father's house and is disappointed to see that he has forgotten all about her. She tells him that she is only there for Johnny and will be leaving again as soon as possible. But her father insists that she stays and takes some time to reconnect with him and her sister. Though Johnny tries to make the best of it, he quickly grows lonely and discouraged, feeling alienated by the other children who are excited for the upcoming Founders' Day celebration because their fathers will be returning from war. On the day of the festival, Johnny sneaks into town, determined to hitch a ride back home with one of the soldiers. But as he makes his way through the crowd, he accidentally knocks over a basket belonging to an old woman. He tries to apologize, but she cuts him off, saying that she is too busy and doesn't have time for his excuses. Johnny is dejected, but his mood quickly changes when he hears the sound of drums and singing. Following the music, he comes across a clearing in the woods where a group of people are gathered around a campfire listening to a man named Uncle Remus tell stories. Intrigued, Johnny creeps closer and hides behind a tree. As the stories continue late into the night, Johnny listens intently to each tale, captivated by the adventures of the tricksy Br'er Rabbit and his friends. Soon, it is time for bed, and Uncle Remus invites the children to stay in his barn, which they accept. But before they go, Johnny bravely approaches Uncle Remus and introduces himself. Amused by the youngster's bravery, Uncle Remus allows him to stay and listen to more stories. Before long, Johnny is fast friends with Uncle Remus and spends his days helping around the property. One afternoon, Johnny is working in the fields when he hears the sound of a whip cracking nearby. Looking up, he sees a young black man being forced by two white men to run faster. Johnny is outraged and demands that they stop, but they simply laugh in his face and tell him it's none of his business. Johnny is upset, but Uncle Remus stops him from confronting the men, explaining that now is not the time. Instead, he tells Johnny that he will deal with the situation in his own way. Later that evening, Johnny and Uncle Remus are sitting on the porch when two of Uncle Remus's friends arrive. The three men speak in hushed tones, and Johnny can hear them talking about the man who was whipped earlier. It turns out that this man is the son of Uncle Remus's former master, who has returned to the plantation demanding that Uncle Remus sell him some land. When Uncle Remus refused, the man had him whipped. Now the three friends are making a plan to get revenge. The next morning, Johnny wakes up early and goes to the barn to help the animals get ready for the day. As he is feeding the chickens, he hears a commotion outside and peeks through a crack in the wall. What he sees shocks him. The white men are in the middle of a tar and feather party, and Uncle Remus's friend is standing nearby with a shotgun. Johnny is scared, but Uncle Remus appears and tells him everything will be fine. Then he leads Johnny to a hiding spot, and the two watch as the men are driven away. Afterward, Uncle Remus thanks his friends for helping him stand up to the bullies and restore order to the community. Johnny is relieved that his friend is safe, but he is still shaken by the violence he has witnessed. That night, Johnny is having trouble sleeping, so he goes to Uncle Remus for help. The old man tells him that he understands how he feels and promises to tell him a story that will cheer him up. The story follows Br'er Rabbit, who is hanging out with his friends when he hears a noise in the bushes. Curious, he goes to investigate and discovers a small house. Excited, he runs to tell his friends, but on the way, he steps on a log that was hiding a sleeping fox. The log falls, waking the fox, who quickly chases after Br'er Rabbit. Terrified, Br'er Rabbit runs to a nearby tree and climbs to the top. The fox looks up and asks him to come down, promising not to hurt him if he does. But Br'er Rabbit refuses until the fox agrees to carry him on his back for a mile. The fox reluctantly agrees, but midway through, Br'er Rabbit jumps off and runs away. Enraged, the fox gives chase, but Br'er Rabbit manages to escape each time. Finally, exhausted, the fox collapses from exhaustion and Br'er Rabbit runs to a river, dips his paws in the water, and walks across. On the other side, he taunts the fox, telling him that he should have listened to him earlier and that now he will never catch him. Then he disappears. As Johnny listens to the story, he begins to feel better. He realizes that just like Br'er Rabbit, he can use his wits to overcome any obstacle. From that day forward, Johnny is determined to be more like Br'er Rabbit and less like the mean old fox. He helps Uncle Remus around the plantation and spends time with the other children. He even befriends a young girl who had been mean to him earlier. Together, they explore the woods and play games. One day, Johnny and the other children are playing near the river when they see a boat approaching. On board are Johnny's mother and father, who have come to take him home. Though Johnny is happy to see his parents, he is also sad to leave Uncle Remus and the other children. But before he can say goodbye, his father calls him over and tells him that they have to leave. Overwhelmed with emotion, Johnny runs to hide in the bushes. Suddenly, he hears a familiar voice calling his name. Startled, he runs away, but he soon realizes that it is just Uncle Remus. The old man tells him that he knows it is hard to say goodbye, but that he must be brave like Br'er Rabbit. He then gives Johnny a small bag of rabbit fur to remember him by. Touching, Johnny apologizes for being a bad listener earlier, and Uncle Remus tells him not to worry about it. He then gives Johnny one last story about Br'er Rabbit and his friends that shows him how important it is to be honest and kind. When Johnny's father calls him again, the boy says a final goodbye to Uncle Remus and gets on the boat. As they pull away from the shore, Johnny turns to wave, but Uncle Remus is gone. Disappointed, Johnny looks down at the bag of rabbit fur in his lap and remembers the lessons he learned from Uncle Remus and Br'er Rabbit. Realizing that he can always return to the plantation, Johnny smiles and waves to his father, who returns the gesture with a smile of his own. And so our story ends with Johnny returning home, forever changed by his time at Uncle Remus's plantation. With the help of the wise storyteller and the tricksy Br'er Rabbit, Johnny has learned valuable lessons about courage, kindness, and compassion that will stay with him for the rest of his life. The stories they shared have healed his broken heart and shown him that even in the darkest of times, there's always light to be found. And as Johnny settles back into his life with his family, he carries the spirit of the South with him, knowing that he can always return to the place where he learned the true meaning of home. Now it's time to hear from you. How do you think Song of the South turned out? Which character did you like the most? And what's your favorite scene from the movie? Let us know in the comments below. We hope you enjoyed this video and would love for you to join us back here every week for more adventures in classic cinema. Until next time, keep watching, stay curious, and may your heart always find the magic in storytelling.